Hello folks, this is Sula speaking. You're listening to another video for Teamfight Tactics. It is the start of another set. We are beginning set 13, which is officially called Into the Arcane, but people will probably just think of it as the Arcane set. And as usual, when we start a new set, I'm going to record an introductory video. This will be an introduction to the set. It does not presume that you know anything about Teamfight Tactics. So this might be a little bit basic to people who've played a lot, but there's always people trying to get into the game when there's new sets, and I don't think that it hurts to walk through some of the basics, and we'll use this game as an example. This is actually the very first game that I did of set 13 on the live client, although I had done probably about a dozen games on the public beta environment before the set officially released on the live client. All right, first up, basics. Teamfight Tactics is officially known as an auto chess or auto battler game. You build a team out of the League of Legends characters, and then you battle against the teams of 7 other players, and you keep facing them until the game is over, basically. Now, we always start out with a couple of minion rounds. I should back up first. We start out with an encounter, which will set some kind of unique aspect to the game. For this game, we had Heimerdinger as our encounter, which means our first augment is going to be prismatic. And then you get a couple of minion rounds where you're not up against another player yet. You get a couple rounds to try to build out your team and try to put together what your initial board is going to look like. So there's an initial encounter, then there's 3 minion rounds, and then you'll get an augment choice, and then after that you can you'll start facing the other players, the other 7 players. As the rounds go on, you'll keep hitting the other players until eventually there's only one person left, so you put your team against their team. Now, as I said, you build your team out of the various League of Legends characters, although this set actually has a number of characters that are only in the Arcane TV show, and so they're not actually in the game. It's not actually in League of Legends itself. There's a handful of them. As I said, after those initial minion rounds, you will then get your choice of an augment. They can come in silver, gold, or prismatic versions. This is the prismatic version. That's what that initial encounter did, is it meant our initial augment would be prismatic. And there's a couple different options here. I end up taking this one, Ghosts of Friends Past. Whenever an allied champion dies, your team permanently gains either health, attack damage, or ability power based on the dying champion's role. This is a new augment here in set 13, and I had actually never played this one before. But basically what it means is, as units on my team die, I will gain permanent stat benefits for my team over time. So it's a trait that doesn't really do much in the early game, but the longer the game goes on, the more the benefit is going to be. It's also a trait that doesn't do that much if you just win really hard against the enemy team, because it's kind of weird because you need units on your team to die in order to get the benefit. But obviously you still want to win rounds, so you kind of want to narrowly win rounds where your team wins, but you also have most of your team die. So it's kind of odd. This is a good round in the sense that my whole team is dying, but it's a bad round in the sense that I actually lose the round. As you might expect, when you lose rounds, you take damage in terms of your player health. So I had 100 health, and now I have 96 health. Anyway, a little bit more about the team building aspect of the game. As I said, you build your teams out of the League of Legends characters, and all the characters have different traits associated with them. You can see them in the shop down at the bottom of the screen. Set has Rebel Bruiser. Well, now I'm scouting other boards. I'm trying to see what other people are playing. This is pre-recorded footage. We do not have replays in Teamfight Tactics. It seems like we will never get them. The developers promised we were going to have them about 3 or 4 years ago, and they have obviously decided they're just never going to implement them. But anyway, the units have traits you can see down at the bottom of the screen. Set has Rebel Bruiser. Ezreal has 3 traits. Most units have 2 traits. A handful of units have 3. We actually have 2 different units that have 3 traits. Urgot also has 3 traits, and then Ziggs has 2 traits. So all of these various traits do something, and then as you play the units on your board, you get those traits in play. So right now I have 2 Enforcer, 2 Watcher on the board. Enforcer is a vertical trait I'm not going to play too much into. Provides some shielding and damage amplification to your units. Watcher is a trait I'm going to play heavily into. It is a tank trait, and it provides damage reduction to Watchers. I'm also going to be playing into the Sniper trait, although I do not have that on the board just yet. So you build your team out of these various units, you buy them in the shop, and if you can get 3 copies of a unit, then the unit stars up. They go from initial 1-star level into a 2-star level, where their ability does more damage, they get additional stats, they kind of just get stronger in every way. So you need 3 copies of a unit to 2-star them. At the moment, the only 2-star unit I have is the unit in the back left corner. Her name is Maddie. She is one of the units from one of the characters from the Arcane TV show. Does not exist in normal League of Legends. And you can tell that she is a 2-star unit because there's like a little silver icon, little silver diamond on the left side of her health bar. And that is a sign that she has starred up. So you need 3 copies of a unit to 2-star them. It is possible to 3-star units. That requires 3 2-star units. So 3, 3, and 3, or 9 total copies of the unit. That will 3-star the unit. And 3 stars have lots and lots of bonus stats. Most units you will not 3-star in this game because it's just too hard to get 9 copies of a unit. Usually you will want to 2-star most of your units. And typically that's what you're going for. Although there are some strategies that rely on trying to 3-star units. And we're going to see one of them in this game. So we had the initial encounter, and then we had the initial minion rounds. Now we just had 3 rounds against the other players. And then now we will get an item carousel. You have a chance to pick an item off of this carousel, and the picking order is based on your health. So this is one of those comeback mechanics here in Teamfight Tactics. The players with the lowest health pick first, and we get released 2 at a time. And then the players with the most health pick last. As I said, kind of basic, but it is a way to have a catch-up mechanic in the game. You are more likely to have an item component that you want if you are picking earlier on the carousel. I didn't really get what I wanted there. I was looking for a bow. I'm running a team composition that needs a lot of attack speed, and bows give you attack speed. So I just ended up taking a tank item here. I ended up taking a belt, and that allowed me to make a frontline item called Warmugs, which gives a lot of health. The belts are the item that give health. Now, one thing that's new here in set 13 is your items go in a little menu on the left side of the screen. You can see it's right next to where the traits are listed. There is a little menu, and your items now pop up over there. This is extremely overdue. In older sets of Teamfight Tactics, your items popped up on your bench, right where my little legend is standing, the little penguin unit that I have that has my name Sula on it. That's where they used to go over there. So this is a bit of a change. It's definitely a much wanted change. So it's just a more neat way of collecting all of the various items you get throughout the game. I currently do not have any items, but I do have an item remover. That's what that little thing that looks like a claw is you can pop the items off a unit with them. And this is also a change here in set 13. You now get an item remover at the beginning of every minion round. So whenever there's a minion round, you'll get an item remover, and those can stack up. You can have like 3, 4, 5 item removers if you want. This makes it very easy to move items off of units. Before these item removers were introduced, you had to sell a unit to get the items off. This is actually a relatively recent change, and it's a lot more player friendly. So that it does make the game a little bit less complicated. But it's definitely a nice change to have, so that you don't have to sell your units just to get the items off them. For example, like if I wanted to, I've made an item called Spear of Shojin on Maddie, which causes units to generate more mana when they auto attack. So I don't have to sell Maddie if I want to still play her, but if I want to take this item and move it to somebody else. By the way, this fight's pretty close, but it looks like I'm going to win. Can the Nocturne kill the Nami? I'm like, can you kill that unit? But apparently not. I was kind of hoping Nami would die because that would give my team some more stats. But overall, that was a really good stage 2. I won 4 of the 5 rounds, and I'm pretty happy with that setup here. So again, the pattern is initial encounter, and then following that, you will get a 3 rounds to build your team. Then after that, start with an augment at the beginning of stage 2, 3 rounds against other players, then an item carousel, then 2 rounds against other players, and then a minion round, followed by the pattern repeating. After this, we'll have the same thing. Stage 3, we'll have 3 more player versus player rounds, an item carousel, 2 more player versus player rounds, then a minion round, etc., etc. Continue until only 1 player is left. That pattern will just keep going on and on and on, although we will get 2 more augment choices. The minion rounds will drop items. They will also drop champions at times. The champions that we're dropping, I mostly wanted to sell, although I did drop a unit named Scar, who I'm going to look to play here. And I ended up getting a glove and a rod. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to move out of the Enforcer trait, and I'm actually going to move up to 4 Watchers. I'm also going to put the Twitch on the board, sell this Nami, who is a spellcasting unit that I didn't really want. They just kind of had her on there temporarily. And this is more of the setup that I want. 4 Watcher, 2 Sniper. And these are kind of the main traits I'm going to be playing in this game. As I said, Watcher is a tank trait. It gives damage reduction to frontline units. Has mostly early game units, but it does provide a lot of tankiness. And then Sniper is a ranged auto attacker trait. Your Sniper units deal more damage based on how far away the target is. So the further away the unit is, the more damage the Sniper units do. I put Twitch on the board, who's actually the 4-cost Sniper. He is not a unit I plan on playing long term. He's actually a more expensive and later game unit than the ones that I plan on playing. By the way, this round looks like it's not going that well. This person already had this person was already level 6. They actually had a Tactician's Crown, which lets them play an additional unit on the board. So they actually had 7 units on the board, which made them a little tougher to kill. Now it's time for our next augment. This is a silver augment here. So I was looking at different options here. I wasn't quite sure. Backup would be nice, but I'm not going to play that many units in the back row. I would actually like that otherwise. Enemy units in the first 2 rows loose. I probably should have taken this Corrosion. I actually think that would have been pretty good. I ended up taking Teaming Up, gain a random component, and 2 random tier 3 champions. I'm actually going to play a lot of 3-cost champions in this build, so I was kind of fishing for them, but I didn't hit any of the ones I was going to play. So that was a bit of a waste of an augment there. I basically only got one component and 6 gold out of this, so I definitely could have done better. That said, the silver augments are the least impactful ones. They have kind of the lowest power level in terms of how the augments go. So even though that was a bit of a waste for me, and I think that Corrosion one that takes away armor and MR from the enemy's team, I think that would have been a better choice, but it is what it is. It's not the end of the world. So you might have heard me talking about 3-cost units there. So what do I mean by that? Well, I've already talked about the fact that units come at different cost levels in the shop. You can actually see if you look at the store down there, each unit has a different cost level associated with them. So like Vex is a 1-cost, Rel is a 2-cost, Renata is a 2-cost, Nunu is a 3-cost. So units can come at 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5-cost tiers. Generally speaking, the more expensive the unit, the better the unit is. If you have a board of 1-cost, you're probably going to lose to a board full of 4-cost units. So the later the game, like here's Heimer's a 4-cost unit. The later in the game, the better those units tend to be. Just their abilities are better. They have higher base stats. They tend to be stronger. Most of the early game units don't really do that much. Like if you can compare Maddie and Twitch, they're both snipers. Maddie requires a lot of mana. I think she has like 110 for her mana cost, something like that. It's very high. And when she uses her ability, she, I think, fires 6 shots on the board, whereas Twitch's ability is he uses Spray and Pray, his ultimate from League of Legends. He basically fires 8 attacks that can hit the entire board and then pierce through to hit targets behind. So like Twitch just has a much better ability than Maddie. He also has higher base stats too, so he does just more damage even if he's not itemized. So like Twitch is firing through the enemy team and doing more damage. Even though he's a 1-star unit, I think he does more damage in this fight than Maddie does, even though she's a 2-star unit. But again, that's just the difference between having a 1-cost unit and a 4-cost unit. The 1-cost unit's just better. Also, boom, Vander goes down, so I get another unit. Yeah, Twitch did more damage. He did 50% more damage, even though he's a 1-cost or a 1-star unit and Maddie's a 2-star unit. So you really do want to move into the more expensive units as the game goes on. Typically, you want to do that because the more expensive units are just kind of the stronger units. And it makes sense, right? If the 1-cost units were the best, then you could get them from the start of the game, and that would kind of be a problem. Now, I'm still looking for bows. It's a little bit fortunate for me that there are 2 bows on this carousel because I actually have enough health that I'm picking last here. But fortunately, there are 2 bows. There's 9 choices on the carousel, and there's 8 item components. So it just turned out that the one component was doubled was the bow, and that's great news for me because now I'm going to be able to take this bow and this rod and combine them together, and I can look to make a Rage Blade, which is going to be a very, very core item. And I also now have managed to find the unit I was looking for, who is Kog'Maw, and he's going to be our main carry throughout this game. The Rage Blade is an item that means every time you attack, you gain additional attack speed, so it stacks throughout the fight. It has good synergy with the Spear of Shojin, because Spear of Shojin means you generate additional mana on each auto attack. So you'll be attacking faster and generating more mana on those attacks as the fight goes on. All right, so I was talking about different cost tiers. So what dictates which units pop up in your store? And if you look down at the interface, right above where the character portraits are, right above the set, you see a series of percentages down there. It says 30%, 40%, 25%, 5%, 0%. Those are the odds for units at each cost tier to appear. So right now, whenever I have a new round, I get a new shop. And I have 30% odds to get a 1 cost, a 40% odds to get a 2 cost, etc., etc. So I still can't even see the 5 cost units. It's literally not possible for me to see them at this point in time. So that dictates what the odds are on what you'll see. And those odds will change throughout the game. It is based on your level, the level of your character. So I have, I actually just went to level 7. I was level 6. I just went to level 7. And you might notice the odds shifted a little bit. I was previously 30% for the 1 cost. Now I'm 19% for the 1 cost. And now I actually do have a chance to see the 5 cost. It's only a 1% chance. So not going to see the 1 cost very often at level 7. And but I do at least have a chance to see them now. It would be helpful if my past self would go back to my board. There we go. So now 19%, 30%, 40%, 10%, 1%. Those are the odds for me to see the various units. I also probably should have mentioned this earlier. You get to play 1 unit per level. I am level 7. That means I get to play 7 units. So increasing your level not only increases your shop odds to see more expensive units and therefore typically better units, it also means that you get to play additional units. It's kind of straightforward, but still something that's worth mentioning. So now that I'm level 7, I get to play 7 units on my board. And I was actually able to win that round, and I'm actually on a nice little win streak. So like, there we go. There's actually a 5 cost unit here, Savika. High Roller, Chem Baron, Pit Fighter. Unfortunately, she doesn't really fit my board. It would be lovely if I could somehow get her on the board. I mean, I could put her on the board, but she doesn't really do much for my comp, unfortunately. I'm not playing any of her traits, so I'm going to pass on her in the store because it doesn't really work. Now, there's a couple of different things you can do with gold. You might notice I have 58 gold sitting there in my bank. Also on a 4-match winning streak. That's what the little 4 with the fire emblem says. And there's a couple different things you can do with gold. Obviously, the most straightforward is you can purchase champions, and the cost to purchase them is simply their cost in the shop. So, like, I want to buy this Vlad. He's a 2 cost unit, so it's going to cost 2 gold if I want to play this Vlad. I also want to first sort out my items here. So I was like, all right, let's see. I'm going to make some tank items here. Going to go ahead and do a Sunfire Cape, and then I have a leftover tier, which I will put on Cog. Tiers give mana, so that'll cause him to cast a little bit faster. And now I'm going to refresh my shop. I mentioned that there are kind of a couple things you can do with gold. First is to buy units in the store. Next up is you can pay 2 gold to refresh the shop. It actually says that down there at the bottom of the interface, reroll 2 gold. So you can spend 2 gold just to get a new shop and look for additional champions here. You can also spend 4 gold to gain 4 experience, where it says buy XP 4 gold. So those are the main things you can do with gold. Buy champions, pay for experience, and refresh the shop. Typically what I've been doing up to this point in time in the game is I've been buying experience because I wanted to get to level 7 quickly. Level 7 is kind of the key point for me in this game. And my strategy, well, I'll get back to my strategy in a second. We have our final augment here. And looking at the different options here, I ended up clicking Clockwork Accelerator. Your team gains 10% attack speed every 3 seconds in combat. I think in retrospect, that wasn't the right choice because I think Cog actually gets enough attack speed on his own. I think I probably should have taken the one that gives additional healing every few seconds in combat. I think that actually would have been better here. Cog kind of stacks up attack speed quickly enough. I'm not sure that he really needs even more attack speed on top of what he's already getting. But I don't think this is bad for my team. I think that what I needed was just more frontline so Cog can last and go infinite in these fights. Cog's ability is every time he casts his ability, he gets extra attack speed. And he also gains additional range as he casts more often. So what you really need for him is you need strong frontline because he eventually kind of goes infinite in these fights. So you want a really tanky frontline so he can just stand back there and go nuts with his ability. Like if you watch him in this fight, again, Rage Blade gives him stacking attack speed. Now I have that Clockwork Accelerator that gives him stacking attack speed. And as he just goes throughout these fights, you can see he just attacks faster and faster and faster until he eventually hits the attack speed cap, which is pretty high, but he will ultimately hit the attack speed cap. So he's hit the attack speed cap right now, and you can see he's just going absolutely bonkers back there. It's pretty hilarious to watch him. But like I said, he probably doesn't need even more attack speed. He probably needs a little bit more tankiness from my front line so he can go infinite in these fights. He also seems like he's pretty clearly overpowered at the moment. All right, anyway, so as I said, my strategy for this game was to get to level 7. And then what I want to do at level 7 is I'm just going to stay here and I'm going to keep hitting that reroll key. And the reason for that is I really want to try to get a 3-star Cogmaul. That is finding 9 copies of Cogmaul. Cogmaul's a little bit overtuned in this game, or in this current patch version right now. They'll probably nerf him because he's definitely too strong. But I want to hit 9 Cogmauls, and I think that that's my win condition for this game, is if I can find 9 Cogmauls, I can probably win this lobby. And the reason why I want to be level 7 is, again, if you go back to those odds on the interface, remember the 19%, 30%, 40%, 10%, 1%, this is the level where you have the highest odds to see 3 cost units. And that's what Cogmaul is. He's a 3 cost unit. So this is where the best odds are to see the 3 cost units. And that's why I want to be here if I'm looking for Cogmaul. I'd also like to reroll for one of my frontline units. Oh, by the way, I'm finally going to have my win streak ended here, which is unfortunate. But that person already has a bunch of 3-star units. They have a 3-star Nocturne, a 3-star Akali, and a 3-star Ziggs back there. So they've got a bunch of 3-star units, and I only have a 1-star Cogmaul. So I'm not surprised that I lost that fight. But anyway, it makes sense, right? If I'm trying to find Cogmauls, I want to be at the level where I have the best odds to find Cogmaul. By the way, there's also a Cogmaul on this carousel with a rod. That would be fantastic for me. I would really like to get this Cogmaul. Unfortunately, I'm still last pick. I was actually a little bit annoyed because there's a player with 1 HP, and if that person had gotten knocked out of the lobby, I actually would have been 3rd pick on this carousel instead of 4th pick, but no. And so I get denied the Cogmaul at the last second because another player wanted it. I was like, really? Couldn't that player on 1 HP have died? Because then I would have been 3rd pick and I might have been able to go get that Cogmaul. That would have been so nice. That would have given me a 2-star Cogmaul because that would have been the 3rd Cog. And that would have really helped me out quite a lot. Now, the other problem for me in this lobby is there's actually another person who's playing Cogmaul. There's someone else who's basically trying to play a very similar strategy to me. And which player is it? I believe it's the person Silly Salmon, if I remember this game correctly. I think that they have the no, it's not that player. Oh, it must be that person PC Raw, the over there with the 45 HP. Yes, it's that person, PC Raw. So they are going to be also trying to grab Cogmauls. They're literally trying to do the same thing as me. They also want to get 9 Cogmauls for a 3-star Cogmaul. The good news is I did manage to get 2-star Cogmaul, so I have 3 of them now. And that does mean that all of his damage, his numbers are going to go up. He's going to be stronger in terms of how much damage he does and in terms of how much health he has, etc. That's all going to be increased as a result of that. Does not appear to be strong enough to beat this player, unfortunately. So I do suffer 2 losses in a row. So I am going to be contesting with that other player. Now we have our other new mechanic here for set 13. We have something called the Anomaly. On stage 4-6, you pick a champion to evolve, and you give one of them a special ability. You can reroll with the choices for 1 goal, but I was happy with the very first one I saw, so I just take this one. This is gain 40% more ability power from all sources. So no matter how much ability power Cogmaul gets, he'll gain 40% more from whatever the source might be. And this is actually not quite the ideal setup right now. So in order to make this work, I need to give Cogmaul more ability power. Higher ability power means that the unit, their ability deals more damage. So, and Cogmaul deals magic damage, so I definitely want to get him some more ability power. So I'm really looking for a rod here. If I get a rod, I can make an item called Archangel Staff for him. And Archangel Staff gives stacking ability power throughout the fight. At the beginning of the fight, you get 0, and then I think it's like after 4 seconds, you get 30 ability power, and then after another 4 seconds, you get another 30 ability power. So this would have perfect synergy with that Evolve Augment, because as Cog stacked up his attack speed and his range throughout the fight, he'd also be stacking ability power, and he'd be getting 40 more ability power from all sources. So I really would like to make an Archangel Staff on him, if at all possible. But I need to get 1 more rod for that to happen, and that's not guaranteed. By the way, I'm actually up against my doppelganger here, PC Roll, so it's really important I win this round. I want to get this person out of the lobby because they are contesting me on the Cogmalls. And look how close this is. Oh, it's going to be Cogmall against Cogmall. Who wins? Oh, looks like I narrowly win. Very close fight. His Cog is actually stronger than mine right now, but my front line was stronger than his, and I was able to narrowly win that one. The reason why this matters is there's only a limited number of units in the pool. There are not infinite units to choose between here in Teamfight Tactics. There's a limited number of all units. It's just like decks in a card. You know, like if you have 3 aces and a deck of cards, that means there's only one more ace in the deck. And that's the same thing here in Teamfight Tactics. So there's a limited number, and everybody shares those champions. I believe there are 18 copies. It's either 18 or 19, somewhere around there. This used to be 18, but the developers have tweaked the numbers at various points in time. It's right around 18 copies of each of the 3 costs. By the way, I'm trying to pull a rod here, and I do not pull a rod here. So I was like, really would have liked a rod here, so that's a bit unfortunate. So I'm going to fall back on the bow. I'm going to make a static shiv, and then I'll go ahead and make an item called Ruin's Hurricane. So that is disappointing, but I still hope that maybe somehow I can get an Archangel Staff for Cogmall. So anyway, I'm on 5 Cogs now, but I still need to get 4 more of them. And I was actually trying to roll for that last Vander because I'm on 8 Vanders, and I'd really like to hit Vander a 3-star. That would actually help my front line a lot. But anyway, we're contesting on the Cogs, so if there's only 18 copies, I now have 6 Cogs, and I believe that other player has, I think they're right around 6 copies as well. So that means there's like 12 of them out of the pool at the moment. That means there's not a lot of Cogmalls remaining. So we're contesting each other on this unit, and so it's pretty important. If that person dies, all those Cogmalls will go back in the pool. So I'd actually kind of like this person to die. So that's actually kind of a big deal. Now, you've also probably noticed that I've been mostly staying above 50 gold throughout this match, and I need to talk a little bit more about how the in-game economy works. There's 3-star Vander, so that's nice. I'm going to pop these items off Scar. I'm going to move them over to Vander because he is a 3-star unit. I'm also trying to 3-star Scar, but I really just haven't seen that many Scars. It doesn't seem like I'm going to get that close to 3-starring the Scar, and that other player is down to 6 HP, so I think I'm going to wait to roll until that person's out of the lobby now that I have the 3-star Vander. Anyway, a little bit about the in-game economy. I've been talking about gold, but like, where does this gold come from? And you kind of need to understand where the gold comes from in order to play this game. All right, so you always get a set amount of gold at the start of each round, and the bare minimum is 5 gold. So you will always have 5 gold at the start of each round. That said, 5 gold is not a lot. I mean, that's enough to buy 1 or 2 champions. It's enough to drop 5 or 4 gold into XP. It's enough to re-roll the shop like 1 time, I guess twice, but then you wouldn't have enough gold to buy anything in the shop. By the way, this person's beating me pretty badly here, so that's not great. So you always get 5 gold, but that's not a lot. I'll get back to the economy discussion in a minute. So this person has, the other person who was contesting me is out. PC Roll is now out of the lobby. So now I'm going to roll it down and look for the remaining Cogmalls. I'm kind of dying here. You can see I'm getting outscaled. I need to hit 3-star Cogmall or I'm going to be out of this lobby. So I am rolling myself all the way down to 0 gold, looking for these remaining Cogs. And I'm on 8 Cogs, so I'm 1 off. I need to find this last Cogmall. Can I find Cog? Come on, come on, come on, come on. Oof, stuck on 8. That's disappointing. Stuck on 8. So yeah, you can see I rolled myself all the way down to 0, hoping to find the Cog, but I didn't find it. Oof, disappointing. Anyway, so as I said, now I've killed my economy because now I'm not going to be getting pretty much any gold. And the reason for that is another source of gold is another source of how much money you make each round is how much gold you have in their bank. For every 10 gold, you get another gold at the start of the next round. So that's why you want to stay over 50 gold is if you have over 50 gold, you get 5 more gold at the start of the next round. This interest mechanic caps at 50. By the way, Cog, even as a 2-star, still wins this fight. Nice work, Cog. Good job back there. So that's why you typically want to stay over 50 gold if you can. All right, now it's time for another carousel. So I was looking at the items and it was like, wait a minute, there's a Cogmall on the carousel. I literally don't care what item is on this guy. That's 9 Cogmalls if I take in. That's the Cog 3-star. So I have to take this. And it's a good example of why, although you're normally picking for items off the carousel, sometimes the champion that's on the carousel is just more important. And this gets me to Cog 3-star. So it makes perfect sense to grab this. The item I get is even a decent item. It's Giant Slayer, which is another physical auto-attacking item. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on Zeri. And that's actually not going to be bad at all. It's actually not even a bad Zeri item. So now I want to go ahead and get to level 8. I would like to 3-star Scar, but it looks like it's just too late in the game. I don't think I have much realistic chance of 3-starring Scar. So I'm going to go to level 8. I'm going to put Darius on the board, and that will get me 6 Watchers, which is going to be a big spike because I've been on 5 out of 6 Watchers up to this point in time. I'm also going to reposition Garen. I needed to have Garen next to Vander because his one of his abilities is he actually gives additional health to the 2 units he stands next to. This is the very start of the set. I actually had forgotten that he does that. But yeah, it makes sense. I want him to stand next to Vander, if at all possible, to give Vander additional health. So Vander's going to stand up there tanking. Tank for me, Vander. I need you to just stand up there so Cog can go infinite and kill everything. And that's exactly what happens in this fight. Go Cog! Go Cog! Oh, woo! He wins the fight on 28 HP out of 2,800. Sometimes these fights do get kind of close. Anyway, going back to the interest mechanics, so I basically torpedoed my economy rolling for all those cogs. Now I'm trying to build it back up again. I want to get back up to close to 50 gold if I can, so that instead of getting 5 gold at the start of each round, I get 10 gold at the start of each round. And as you can imagine, that makes a pretty big difference if you're getting 10 gold instead of 5 gold. There is one other way that you can get gold, and that is based on your streak, whether you are on a loss streak or a win streak. So this is why it matters whether you're winning or losing rounds. As you win more rounds in a row or lose more rounds in a row, you also get additional income. I believe that when you get up to a 2-match streak, you gain 1 additional gold. And then I think it caps out at a 5-match streak. The developers have tweaked this a number of times in patches, but I believe it caps out if you're on a 5-match winning streak or a 5-match losing streak, you get 3 additional gold at the start of each round. And I got that person out of the lobby. Just barely managed to kill them. That is good news. So now that I'm on a 3-match streak, like we can just do the math here. I will get 5 gold at the start of the next round, because you always get 5 gold. I have 30 gold in the bank, so that's 3 more. And I'm on a 3-match win streak, which I believe is 2 additional gold. So I should get like 10 additional gold at the start of the next round. Again, that gold can then be used to buy champions, to level, to go into experience to get to a higher level, or it can, of course, be used to reroll the shop. And you've seen me do all 3 of those things throughout this game. So fortunately, it's been a pretty good example of that. This is a minion round, so we're going to get some gold drops. We're also going to get an item anvil that we can pull, and oh, the Archangel Staff is there. Gain 30 ability power every 5 seconds. That was the item I wanted for Cogmaul. So, all right, now I need to shuffle my items around a little bit here. We're going to put the Darius on the board because that gives me the 6 Watchers. So now we're going to keep the Rage Blade and the Shojin on Cogmaul. And I'm going to move the Static Shiv over to Zeri. I also want to give her the Giant Slayer and the Infinity Edge. And then I have a leftover Hurricane, which is not a good item. It doesn't fit my board at all, so I just stuff it on Garen for lack of better options, but I really just don't have anyone to put this on, and it's a shame I don't have another tank item there. A tank item would be way better, but I did not know that I was going to be able to pull that Archangel Staff. Anyway, my past self is hopefully highlighting Cog stats. Look at his ability power. There it is. It keeps going up every 5 seconds throughout the fight, so he is ballooning up to 300 ability power in this fight, so his ability is just hitting insanely hard. Normally, the Archangel Staff gives you 30 ability power every 5 seconds, but because he's got that anomaly evolution, remember, he gets 40% more ability power from all sources. He's actually gaining 42 ability power every 5 seconds. So he starts around like 150 or something like that, and then he goes up by 42 ability power every 5 seconds. It's just crazy. So as these fights drag out, he gets scaling attack speed, he gets scaling range. The more times he casts, the more range he gets until he can eventually hit the entire board with his ability. And now he's getting stacking ability power as well. So Cog is a scaling monster in these fights. I just have to keep him alive. Also, my Ghosts of Friends Past has really scaled up now. That wasn't really doing anything at the start of the game, but it's up to 800 additional health on every unit on the board. And there actually is a lot of synergy between this and the frontline that I'm playing. Watchers as a tank trait, it gives durability. That's damage reduction. And the Watchers actually gain more durability when they're over half health. They 6 Watchers, I believe, 50% damage reduction when they're over half health. And then they get, I think it goes down to like 30% or 35% when they drop under half health. So the higher the health my units have, the longer they have that 50% durability. So getting like another 800 or 900 health on every unit, including my frontline, is a really big deal. So the longer the game that goes on, the more benefit I'm getting from that prismatic trait, which again wasn't doing much at the start of the game, but is very, very strong now. I think that Vander has like 5,000 HP or something like that. So I would have liked to have 3-starred the Scar. When you play this board, what you're really doing is you're rerolling for both Scar and Cogmaw, and the goal is to 3-star both of them. But the Scars were just too contested. There were too many Scars out of the pool, so I didn't really have a realistic chance of hitting the Scar 3-star. And I just didn't have as much luck in the shop. Some games you'll have more luck at hitting these units than in other games, and I just didn't really see a ton of Scars in this game. By the way, can Cog kill everything? Can he hang in there? Oof. Almost. Almost. He did 19,000 damage. Now, the problem is I'm down to 17 HP, so I probably am out of the lobby the next time I lose a round, so that's unfortunate. Now, we have another carousel here. There's down to just 3 of us in this lobby. I am going to go ahead and take this Rumble with the Sunfire Cape. The reason for this is I just need more frontline. All the other items on here are damage items to one extent or another, and I just need more frontline. I just need the tanks to stand up there and not die so Cogmaw can kill things. The Rumble's also nice because it denies a Rumble to this other player. The person who just beat me, Cray, they're actually playing Rumble as a unit. They're playing a scrap board, and Rumble's one of the units they're playing. So they would have had a chance to take that Rumble if it had still been on the carousel. And they don't have it. By me taking that, they are denied the opportunity to get a Rumble themselves. Rumble's a 5-cost unit who's quite strong. All right, so I need to not lose this round. I can actually level to level 9 and put in another unit if I can survive this round. The good news is I am not up against that player, Cray, who actually has the little fire icon, which indicates that that player is win streaking. I'm up against the other player, Crack Pat, instead. And this is the person who was also playing a reroll build. They rerolled for Akali and Nocturne and Ziggs. So those are all 2-cost units. They're playing 2-cost reroll. I'm playing 3-cost reroll. And this is a pretty close fight, but the good news is Cog focuses down the Nocturne relatively early in the fight. And I think Cog has got this. Cog is just about the only one left alive, but we managed to clutch another fight out just barely. And even better news, my whole team died. My whole team died, so that means even more stats based on that Ghosts of Future Past augment. I also realized I forgot to put the Sunfire Cape on one of my units, so whoops, that was a mistake. I did have just enough gold to get to level 9, so I'll go ahead and play that. You could actually make a case that LeBlanc would be a good unit to play here because she would put the Sork trait in play, which I don't think would be bad here. Sork trait gives a small amount of ability power to the whole team, and her ability is also a damage amp. Damage amplification for the units she hits. But I thought that the Mauls was a little bit better here because Mauls hits Automata trait, and I think Mauls is... What does Mauls' ability do? It's some kind of debuff as well. I thought he just had a slightly better fit. I actually can't remember what his ability does, but I believe it's a debuff of some sort. So I thought that he was maybe a slightly better fit here because he was hitting that Automata trait, which scales together with Cogmaw. Anyway, this time I'm up against that player, Cray, but let's see, can I win this one? It's pretty close. Looks like Cog clutched it out. Now, you might say, wait a minute, you didn't do any damage to that other player. That's because that was a ghost round. When there's an odd number of players in the lobby, someone gets a ghost round, which means that you don't deal any damage to that player if you win. You take damage if you lose, but you don't deal any damage if you win, which is a little bit frustrating. But ghost rounds have famously been bugged for like ages and ages and ages. They tend to be slightly easier rounds to win because usually something's bugged and doesn't work correctly in a ghost round for the ghost that you're fighting. Anyway, we're down to just 2 players left. It's me and this other person, Cray, and we're going to stage 7, which means this game's gone on for quite a while. It's kind of a long game. Here on stage 7, by the way, I should have mentioned this before, but the later you are in the game, the more damage you take from losing a round. So like as you get later in the game, when you lose rounds, you take more damage. On stage 2, you take very minimal damage when you lose rounds. On stage 7, you take massive damage. So I will 100% die if I lose this round. I am guaranteed to take at least 17 damage from losing this round. So I can't lose another round or the game's over. I'm also going to slightly move these items around. I'm going to put the Giant Slayer on the Malzahar because he can... Giant Slayer is usable on AP casters in a way that Runin's Hurricane really is not. But you saw from the item anvil, I pulled an item called Protector's Vow, which is a tank item. I really just need more tank items at this point, so I'm just trying to itemize Scar with some more tank items. I really do not need more damage. Cog will kill everything. I just need Cog not to die in these fights. I just need him to hang in there, hang in there, hang in there. This other board is playing the scrap trait, which gives them shields at the start of the fight. And wow, those are some big shields over there. Come on, Cog. Come on, Cog. It's Cog against Corky. Oh, once again, Cog narrowly wins the fight and does another 19,000 damage in this one. So it looks like it's going to come down to one more round between me and the other player. So I'm looking to see if I can find like a 5 cost, but no. Oh, there are 2 LeBlancs at the start. I wonder if I had played the LeBlanc, if I could have had the LeBlanc 2-star. That would have been awesome. Maybe not, but LeBlanc 2-star would be way better than Malzahar 1-star. All right, so I'm watching this other person's board. I'm waiting to see if they reposition in any particular way. I'm going to move Zeri a little bit closer to Kog'Maw. Zeri's Static Shiv actually is a magic resist shred, so I kind of want her closer to Kog'Maw. And this person shifts Corky to the left-hand corner at the last second, which I think is probably the right decision. They're trying to have Kog'Maw avoid focusing Corky early in the fight, which, as I said, I do think is the right decision. But once again, that last fight was very close. I'm hoping that this one goes well. Also, looks like Zeri's doing a pretty good job of getting the Static Shiv Lightning on the enemy team to shred their magic resistance to help Kog'Maw out. She's doing a great job of being a support unit. Cog is still alive. I've still got the Scar alive. Looks like this fight wasn't as close as the last one. For whatever reason, I had better combat RNG that time. And I'm going to win this one in a very close match. I'm also going to type to the other person GG, and I think Cog is unbalanced. He's definitely overtuned in this patch. I really should not have won this game. The other person's board was more expensive. They had more 4 and 5 cost units. I do think they should have beaten me, but Cog is just a little overtuned in this patch. Well, anyway, there you go. A pretty good game. I hope that this was a nice example of what some TFT gameplay looks like. Hopefully we'll have a good set here. I guess we'll find out. Set 13 looks like it'll be fun. So if you're around, feel free to join us. And if not, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this one. Take care, folks. I'll see you again soon.